I'm reading an article right now about the evolution of international relations, international organizations, and peacekeeping. Um, the part that I want to read a quote from is where UN Secretary General Kofi Annan appointed an Algerian foreign minister to write a report with suggestions on how peacekeeping can gain credibility and effectiveness. So he wrote a report called the Brahimi report, and in it he made some recommendations, such as the conclusion that, and I quote, when the United Nations does send its forces to uphold the peace, they must be prepared to confront the lingering forces of war and violence with the ability and determination to defeat them. For in the final analysis, no amount of good intentions can substitute for the fundamental ability to project credible force if complex peacekeeping in particular is to succeed. Mandates, and the resources to match them, have to be guided by pragmatic, realistic analysis and thinking. The UN Secretariat must not apply best-case planning assumptions to situations where the local actors have historically exhibited worst-case behavior. So there's a lot being said in this quote. It's basically saying that peacekeepers should resort to war when they go to keep the peace, because peacekeepers don't create peace. Right now, they uphold it. So this individual is suggesting that peacekeepers go and create peace by finishing the war, basically, by fighting in it. As if war is some kind of solution that just needs to be fought out and then everything's fine after that. This individual is suggesting the use of greater force to subdue lesser force. For me, when I look at this, is what I see is the opposite of peacekeeping. I see perpetuation of war, and not only that, but the causes of the war in the first place are not addressed. They're basically just battling it out and waiting for the other side to submit. In a later part in the quote, they say that mandates and the resources to match them have to be guided by pragmatic, realistic analysis and thinking. Well, if the mandate is to finish up the war, have the peacekeepers finish up the war and beat the other side, now, if you consider what resources would be required, think of the cost of a war, which in itself is extreme. And then you have to add now the reconstruction after the war, because that's what peacekeepers do. In order to keep the peace, you can't just finish a war and walk away. You have to reconstruct the damage that has been done, the infrastructure, institute a judicial system, return civil society back to some kind of livable standard, recreate an entire education system, implement the rule of law. I mean, these are all things that, because we live in an unequal society that creates war, we need to have all these structures to keep us in line. So you can't just finish a war and walk away and think that the people are changed and the war won't just come back. This is not a solution that stands the test of time. So the resources required to finish out that war and then rebuild the state and then be a temporary agent that runs the state while a government is created and democracy is employed. I mean, that's a huge amount of resources that would be needed That would be supplied by who? The states that contribute to the UN, but the UN is already stretched thin and lacking resources. So this solution is actually impossible. And the environment within which all of this is taking place is an environment that has no end to conflict in sight. This is why the solution proposed of an equal money system proposes solutions that stand the test of time. By changing the environment within which everything takes place, primarily by changing the economic system to one that's based in equality, beginning initially with a basic income grant, wherein everybody will be provided with enough to live a dignified life. This solves the problem in many different respects. Most notable to me is the fact that many of the soldiers who fight in these wars are only fighting because they have no other option, because they get paid to fight, and they need to fight in wars to survive, to provide for their families. Even in developed countries like the US, soldiers join the army because they're promised health care and an education. And if they had these things in the first place, they wouldn't join. Many soldiers don't even want to be fighting, they just don't have another option. The equal money system also presents a solution from the other end because it eliminates much of the inequality that causes the war in the first place. Thus taking away the incentive to go to war in the first place. This kind of comparison of solutions, comparing solutions that are proposed in our reality by political leaders compared to solutions proposed by the equal money system, demonstrates that we live in a world where common sense and practical solutions do not exist, and they're not suggested by our leaders. It also demonstrates that the equal money system is an actual feasible option that proposes solutions that stand the test of time. Change is needed in this world, that is undeniable. The equal money system is an alternative to the system we live in today. And it's an alternative that you can thoroughly research and see that the solutions proposed are solutions that could actually work in the long term. So, check out Equal Money, educate yourself, and start learning how to look at the system we live in another way, because another way is possible. Thank you.